Welcome to The Woolly Way, a podcast specifically for dairy shepherds. That is, folks wanting to raise sheep for the purpose of harvesting milk. I am your host, Rachel Hess.
And I'm Liv Fox. We cover all things pertaining to raising dairy sheep here, be it animal nutrition, housing, healthcare, lambing tips, cheese making, and even some butchery and fiber art.
After all, if you raise dairy sheep, you are going to have wool, and if your operation is successful, you'll eventually have surplus lambs to decide what to do with.
Ethical animal husbandry is the focus here, as well as sustainable agriculture. We want to provide you with the information you need to start and continue your dairy sheep operation in the best way possible for you, your sheep, and the amazing world we live in.
So grab a nice cup of sheep milk and let's dive in.
Welcome back to The Woolly Way. And today, Liv and I are actually going to discuss our brand new breeding up program that NADSA is starting this year in 2026. So it's a little odd. I feel like saying, Liv, thank you for coming to the show whenever we do it just you and me. But it's like, I mean, you are the show with me now, so that's not appropriate.
Right. I know. Well, and sometimes it's like we talk to each other almost every day anyway, so it's like why are we interviewing each other? But that's fine.
So with all that being said, us two old ladies are going to talk about the breeding up program as a new cutting edge thing in the sheep world.
Yes.
We can handle sheep
Yes.
cutting edge stuff.
Yes.
We can't handle computer cutting edge stuff. So let's start off with
Yes.
define a breeding up program, because I know when I was writing my book, I wrote that like, there's sheep in a breeding up program, and the editors were like, you need to use the official term for this. I'm like, no, that is the official term, is breeding up program. So,
Mhm.
what is it? Why do we have it? Take it away.
Okay. Yeah, so a breed up program in general is typically happening because there are not a lot of known purebreds available in the industry, and there are people out there who are wanting to achieve a purebred status in their flock with several generations of breeding to purebred animals. And so technically, if you
Let's go back one more step. Let's define what is a purebred, and like, because isn't there a difference between purebred and full blood sheep or animals as well, or is that just more of a persnickety hinkiness of the industry?
That's more like persnickety hankiness. So I know there are breed associations out there that if you are breeding up to a purebred status, they're not calling the animal a purebred. They're going to call it a full bred, I think is what they have labeled it as. Just because even if you keep breeding the offspring to purebred animals, technically it will never be a purebred, because it'll have like 0.00000001 of whatever.
Right. They'll still have the genetics of what you crossed it with.
That, yes. They're going to get very dilute over time, whereas technically a quote unquote purebred is like it's 100% of whatever breed it is. So I will say, NADSA, we are not differentiating between.
Let's go back one more step. What is a breed? Like, maybe we should define what is a breed first and foremost, and then we get into why how do you get a breed? Because I feel like that actually might be where a lot of the confusion lies with people wanting to engage in a breed up program. So let's just define really fast for those of us who forgot or failed biology or didn't pay attention or skipped that class. What is a breed, and why do we care about breeds?
Yeah. Yes. And I guess that's a good thing for you to point out, because I have worked in the animal science field for so long, and like that's what I studied when I went to college. I just kind of take that for granted and assume everybody knows this. So a breed, and this is for like any species, is something that has been developed over a long period of time by breeders who have selected for certain characteristics, whether it's typically well, always appearance, but it could be like personality, meat breed sheep. Like those have been selected for hundreds of years to get a specific qualities and traits that those breeders want.
Mhm.
Typically, you'll find breeds are developed in certain regions or
Mhm.
areas because they're adapted to that environment. So, all that to say, breeds of any species are something that have been specifically selected and bred for a long period of time, that when
Mhm.
you also are making those breeding selections, you can replicate
Mhm.
those traits in the offspring. And when they would have offspring that don't meet those traits, they would cull them, whether it's they eat them or they just sterilize them so that they
Mhm.
can't reproduce, or just not use them for breeding. They have been selected very hard for a very long time for
Mhm.
certain traits.
Yeah.
Does that make
Well,
sense?
yes, that's an excellent explanation, and I do want to point out in my nerdy homeschool history buff brain, I don't know that humans in agriculture really cared about breed specifics until mid to late 18th century. Like the whole concept of a breed and a breed standard, as far as our records show, unless they discover a cuneiform tablet in archaeology next year or something crazy like that. I mean, breed specifics are a fairly new phenomenon in agriculture. Doesn't make that a bad thing. Just I think that's important because, with the regenerative sustainable agriculture movement and whatnot, there's some confusion on, I think, livestock management when people don't understand breeds and what they were selectively bred for and why those breeds are there. So, for example, I can treat my Gulf Coast native sheep drastically different than my East Frisian sheep because, like, the Gulf Coast breed was developed through pure survival textbook evolutionary
Mhm.
practices of they were
Right.
dropped off in the American South and the Spaniards said, may the best man win and may the odds always be in your favor. And those sheep said, thank you very much. And they survived.
Right. Natural selection at its
Right,
finest.
right. And so they've got, very libertarian personalities. And,
Mhm.
they're just if I have a problem child who's not, like trying to die but trying to make my life interesting, it's the Gulf Coast. And it's not that, they're basically goats. They just haven't got the memo they're sheep. I mean, they're constantly wanting to move on, they're trying to escape, they're trying to do all these things because they're looking for different forage and whatever was going on in their sheepy
Mhm.
brain.
Mhm.
The ones that are giving me the health issues are typically the dairy crosses because those sheep were bred for milk production, temperament, fleece, not necessarily their survival instincts. And
Right. Well, and through that, because they're a dairy animal, they're used to having a lot of human interaction. So with that, intensely managed.
right. And that's not a bad thing, but
No.
I'm not going to raise my dairy crosses or interact with them the same way I will with my Gulf Coast natives. I mean, if I have a Gulf Coast native sheep and she's a crappy
Right.
mom, bye. In some form or fashion. If my dairy crosses aren't
Mhm.
being a really great mom, I'm gonna do a little bit more Sherlock Holmesing of like, why is this the case? Are you deficient in something? What's going on? Just because they were bred for different things than getting pregnant, dropping them no assistant, raising them within 3 months, and then repeating the cycle. So point of all this bunny trail is up until the mid 18th century, farmers didn't really care about the details that we do now because I don't think they had the leisure or the affluence. Typically, they were just trying to make it through winter. So they were keeping the animals that
Right.
had the
Well, and
go ahead.
I think they were selecting for traits that
Yes.
worked for them. So
Yes.
they were doing it without realizing they were doing it, whether it
Yes.
was essentially, if you wanted to label it like their farm had their own breed,
Right. Right.
which
Right.
in today's society, like that would not be considered a breed, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no,
they were doing
exactly.
it
Like
without realizing
if
they're
you
doing
look
it.
at
Now we're
yeah,
focusing on doing it.
right. Like if you look at the founding fathers' journals, like Thomas Jefferson or George Washington, I mean, you can see in their journals what they'll say. I went to such and such country and I wanted their style of animals because of these reasons. I wanted
Mhm.
the Tunis people are going to get mad at me, is either Jefferson or Washington brought the Tunis sheep from Tunisia because they wanted certain traits that the Tunis sheep displayed. That was different from, the South Downs that they had imported from England at that point. So, I mean, like, there were breeds in that there was a specific style of sheep from a particular farm or particular region that had adapted due to those farmers' needs and those shepherds' needs in that climate. Like the Iwasi sheep is drastically different from the East Frisian sheep because they were just developed in different parts of the world. But I don't think the people in Friesland weren't sitting there going, I'm going to develop a sheep that has a gallon of milk per day, has wool that will be criticized to the rooftops, and has a beautiful personality, is the size of a Clydesdale, and doesn't have parasite resistance to sneeze at. Like, that's not what they did. They were just saying.
Right.
So now we do something similar to that, but not exactly. But what we're trying to say is breeds developed, but it wasn't as hands-on agriculturally as I think it is now.
Yes. Yeah. So all that to say,
Not to say.
so we've already started kind of, with the East Frisian.
Right.
Let's just continue on that path for the East Frisian. And I will 100% admit, for those of you listening, if you haven't figured out, the East Frisian breed is very near and dear to my heart anyways. So I personally am really excited about NADSA offering this breed up program because it's something that I am actively participating in. I also understand there's a lot of people out there who they don't care. They're happy with their diversified dairy sheep that they have. They don't really care to breed up to any purebred status. That's fine. Like, for anyone who it has an interest to breed up a particular breed. So NADSA is offering that. We have a complete breed up program with rules. It's listed on our website. It's in a nice PDF file so you can print it off. And if you have any questions, you can always email the NADSA Gmail account. And we're more than happy to answer them. So basically, let's keep going with the East Frisian.
We don't have any purebred East Frisians in the United States right now. We have really high percentage East Frisians.
No, we do.
We do.
We do.
Okay. We do have purebreds.
We do.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So why do we need a breed up program then?
So we need a breed up program because there's not very many purebred East Frisians, for example, in the United States.
Okay. Yeah.
So for those who want to focus on that and focus on the traits that the East Frisian brings to the table, the breed up program is for them.
Okay. So now explain what the breed up program, how you do the breed up program.
So for example, if you have a ewe, so first of all, we need to, for the East Frisian specifically, or whatever breed you're choosing to work with, you need to see what the breed standard is because that is phenotypically what those sheep look like. So phenotypically means what they physically look like. Genotypic is what they genetically have, which, with genetics, there's, dominant, recessive, heterozygous, that kind of thing. So with genotype, there can be things in the genetics that we don't know are there, but phenotype is what they physically look like. So these sheep that you're using for a breed up program need to phenotypically, so physically, adhere to the breed standard for whatever breed you are choosing to work with.
Right. So like with the
Iwasi has a breed up program.
Right. So like with the Iwasi sheep, a phenotype would be they're a fat-tailed sheep. With the East Frisian, phenotypically would be they have the classic rat tail. So if you submit a picture of an East Frisian that has a nice, long, bushy, woolly tail, that sheep does not express phenotypic East Frisian traits.
Correct.
So it might be giving a gallon a day, and that's the genotype, but that's not the phenotype. Yeah.
Correct. And the mom of that sheep may have had a rat tail, and say the sire did too, the dad. And for whatever reason, the offspring was born, and though the genetic traits that had been hidden from mom and dad, the stars happened to align, and those were expressed, and so she ended up with this big woolly tail. Unfortunately, so for a breed up program, even though she she can still be a great dairy animal. She can still be registered with NADSA. She just would be removed from the quote unquote breed up program project because she does not phenotypically look like what the breed standard states. So they have to look like the breed standard. And so let's just kind of walk through like the starting point in the process. And then if you have any questions,
I'll hold them till the
we
end.
can circle back to any of them.
Hey guys, I just wanted to interrupt quick to give a shout out to our sponsor, the North America Dairy Sheep Association. NADSA is open to any sheep breed or crossed used for milking purposes. NADSA supports dairy shepherds and is elevating dairy standards in sheep in America. NADSA now offers a Milk Star program, has sanctioned dairy sheep shows, and is now offering a breed up program. You can become a member or get more information by going to the website www.northamericadairysheep.org, or you can email the association at northamericadairysheep@gmail.com. We are so thankful to NADSA for sponsoring this podcast and helping bring more resources to the dairy sheep community. Stay tuned for future podcast episodes where we talk to NADSA board members about what NADSA is trying to accomplish in America for the dairy sheep community.
So with this process, I would say it's going to be easiest to start off with a ewe. And so we're going to have ewes as a shepherd. I feel like I'm going to just pick on my own flock. I feel like I have some that do adhere to the breed standard. So I have like 3 ewes that have a rat tail. They meet the coloration too, because not all breeds allow any color under the sun. You know, sometimes they have to be specific colors. So for East Frisian, for example, black is acceptable, white's acceptable, and then piebald. So your black, sometimes it looks brown when it gets sun bleached. And so you're black and white. That's your piebald. So those are going to be the only 3 colors that are accepted within the breed up program. And they have to have that rat tail. They're the breed standard, NADSA's breed standard, is also available on the website. So you can go there, you can print it off, you can see it if this is something that interests you. So say I have these 3 ewes that I think are worthy in my mind of using for breed up. And so I am going to contact NADSA, say, hey, I have these 3 ewes that are already registered with the association. They have to be registered with NADSA already. And I would like to request that they be reviewed for a breed up program. And so I'm going to send pictures of all 4 sides of the sheep. So, and we need to see like hoof to head, like the whole sheep needs to be in the frame for all 4 views. And then we're also going to request that you separate the wool and take a close up of the crimp. And that's more for us just kind of tracking like what everyone's starting off with wool wise. I wouldn't say that that's going to get anyone
Disqualified.
declined for the breed up program. Yeah. So I submit those photos and they're put in a PowerPoint presentation. The executive board is going to review them at whenever the next monthly board meeting is. If it's my own sheep, I don't get an opinion on them. It's the 6 other board members who get to decide, and then vice versa. If somebody else on the board has sheep that they want to use for the breed up program, they don't get an opinion. Like at that point, myself as president, like I'll sub in for their place. But for the most part, it's going to be the other 6 individuals who have a voice on yay or nay. So they'll review it. And if they say yes to all of them or yes to 2 of them, but no to 1, I will then reach out to the member and let them know the determination. Excuse me. For the ones that we say yes on, that ewe is going to be assigned 50% of that status. Now, for some people, that might seem like, wow, that's really taking my breeding program back. And I hear what you're saying.
Right.
But just stick with me. There's a reason to the madness on why we're being really strict on this. Because suppose I have a ewe, for example, in my barn that's supposed to be over 87% East Frisian. I don't have any physical paperwork. I'm not able to trace her back all the way to purebred East Frisian sheep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not been documented, which we just
Mhm.
talked about.
Right.
Why NADSA is so important for that documentation period. If you can trace your sheep back
Yeah.
all the way to a purebred and have physical papers, not just handwritten notes that go back, that's a totally different ball game.
Right.
We'll talk about that at the end. But so for that example, we're taking all those ewes that do not have any paperwork to actually say, yes, this is indeed what their percentage of this breed is. We're
Mhm.
taking them back to 50% because they phenotypically look like whatever breed you're selecting for the breed standard. So then we're going to take that ewe and we're going to breed her to a purebred ram, whether it's live cover or you can do laparoscopic artificial insemination. So you can import semen of whatever breed you're choosing to work with and have that ewe bred. So say she takes, she lambs the following year, those offspring, as long as they continue to phenotypically look like the breed you are choosing to work with, they are going to become the F2 generations, which means 75% of the breed, let's keep saying East Frisian, because we took a 50%er and a 100%er. You add that together, that's 150. Divide it by 2 because you're getting half the genetics from mom and dad. That gets us to 75%. If for some reason those lambs do not phenotypically, they do not physically look like the breed standard, that's okay. They don't get to continue and they're not going to get that F2 status. They're not going to get 75%. They're just going to be listed as an East Frisian cross.
Okay.
And they can be registered with diversified dairy status still. Because they're still probably going to be a great milking sheep. They just don't phenotypically look like the breed, which is how this breed came to be anyways, right? Like we selected and culled really hard for this breed. Say we got really lucky and we got at least one ewe lamb out of that breeding. So we're going to take her as a 75%er, breed her to another 100%er, whether maybe you're lucky you have a ram or we're doing LAI again. So we breed those two together and we have offspring. We're really lucky again. They all phenotypically look like what they're supposed to. That's our F3 generation. They're 87.5% East Frisian at that point. We're going to take that ewe, breed her to 100% again. Lambs are born. Things are still great. They look phenotypically like they should. So that's our F4. For ewes, F4 is where NADSA will say, congratulations, you have achieved purebred status. So at 93.75%, a ewe will be purebred status because we have selected for several generations, and in theory, we should have weeded out anything that might pop up that we weren't expecting. For example, a woolly tail. Now, for a ram to be considered a purebred, we would still need to breed that ewe back to another purebred ram for a F5 generation. And as long as any ram lambs born out of that F5 generation still adhere to the breed standard, we will consider them a purebred at that point. And a lot of people are probably taking a step back and saying, why do rams have to go a whole another generation? And the reason is because rams are the quickest way to influence your flock genetically. So we really want to make sure that we have really weeded out any surprises.
Right.
But not to say that we won't ever have any, but at that point, it should be really unlikely that we have any surprises. Say we get to that F5 generation and we have like twin ram lambs and they aren't the right color or they don't have that rat tail for the East Frisian. They're going to go all the way back to F0. Still can be registered with NADSA. They're just going to go to the diversified dairy herd book. They're not going to stay in our East Frisian herd book. So this is not something that is for everyone because there's a lot of work involved. There's money involved. You have to be. There are some purebred rams and ewes now in the U.S. that have been imported. Most folks have focused on importing rams because, again, it's the quickest way to genetically influence your flock. But those individuals are registered. So, I mean, they're out there. You could do it without purchasing semen. And I feel like for a lot of folks, though, it probably would be quote unquote easier. I say easier in quotations for those of you not watching.
Right.
To import semen because there aren't a lot of purebred rams in the US. And with this breed up program, I say they're going to become even more highly sought after. They're already really highly sought after. So they're quite valuable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this isn't for everyone, and that's okay. But for the people who are like, I want to try this. I want to see how far I can get. I want to try this. I want to, this is my hobby and this is what I choose to spend my money on.
Yeah.
We're here for it.
Right.
And for anyone who's interested in like breeding up for the Awasi specifically, our program, it aligns right with them. So honestly, I would say focus on like breeding up through them. And when you get to purebred status, let us know and then we can reflect that. But they are specifically focusing on one breed. And this breed up program is only offered to breeds who do not have a breed association available to us in the US. So like for Shetlands or Tunis or Fin sheep, we're not
doing those. Yeah.
We're not gonna.
Right. So like we're only doing breed up programs for dairy specific sheep, right? So right offhand, the ones that I know we have genes for in the United States are spitballing is, the Awasis have their own breed association, so we're not going to oversee any kind of breed up program with the Awasis because someone else is doing that, so that can be their baby.
No.
We are starting to use Friesian as of this year. The other two breeds or three, I should say, the other three that I know of are Lacone, Asaph, and Zwarbles. Do we have any other dairy breeds right now, genetics in the United States? Because I know there's British milk sheep, there's the Chura, just spitballing the dairy breeds I know of globally, but I don't think we have those genes
not
in
that
the
I'm
United
aware
States.
of. Yeah, that's I know there are a few people in the US. It seems like closer to Canada and in the Northeast that have British milk sheep, but I think I personally like in my, Facebook stalking and perusing and just Googling and stuff, I've only been able to find like a couple people with the interweb that are like, hey, British milking sheep. So like if you have them,
yeah, let us know.
Great. Like we're more than we're more than happy to work with you. And especially like I'm going to assume the genetics are pretty hard to come by because it's not a name that's thrown out there on social media very often. So yeah, I mean, we're more than happy to have you join us on this fun adventure.
Right.
But yeah,
right.
and Lacones are going to they would be difficult. I mean, you could do it. It's going to take, it might take one generation longer because there's no embryos that I'm aware of. It's just semen. So, I mean, the daughters of, in the rams, but you're working with ewes and then keep breeding them back to purebred that's going to be your quickest way to do it.
Yeah, so I did hear of someone in Kentucky who just imported frozen Valley black nose fertilized embryos from, I think, New
they've
Zealand.
been doing that for a while.
Yeah, and so they got full blood Valley black nose out of Katahdins.
Well, that's because they use Katahdins as their recip use.
Right. Point being, you can't and they were individual people. So the point of this bunny trail is if you as an individual want a specific breed of dairy sheep, like if you wake up one day and you're like, I want British milk sheep, I found a farm in England, they will semi-fertilize embryos, I just want to go through the paperwork and all that gobbledygook.
The stress.
Right. And I'm saying it that way because, okay, these friends who did the Valley Black Nose sheep, to afford 2 pregnant Katahdins with fertilized embryos, they had to sell off their entire herd of registered A2A2 Jersey cows in order to afford 2 pregnant ewes. So, point of that being, this is not like collect Pokemon cards level hobby at all. This is like...
No.
This is...
No. You're doing it because it's something you're really passionate about.
Right. And you don't like to have a life or go see people or afford takeout food or anything else. Because shepherds be crazy.
Yeah. Yes.
But point being, if you wanted to do all that, you absolutely could. What we're saying is we just don't know anyone who is doing that right now for any breeds other than Awasi or East Frisian in the dairy sheep corner of the world.
And Asaf.
And Asaf, yeah.
So Asaf is as well.
They are? Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So they are, yep. There have been embryos imported for a while. I do not know of any East Frisian embryos that have imported into the US. I know of them that have been imported into Canada, but that's a completely different ball game than the US. I am hoping that someday we can get there. Zwarbles, you can import embryos into the US. I know folks that have done that. To say all that, if you get embryos and you implant them in a recipu and you have offspring, so there's a lot of paperwork involved with that. You're going to have a paper trail.
Right.
You need to keep that paper trail.
Yes.
Send copies of that to NADSA.
Yes.
Don't send me your originals. Send copies.
Send copies.
Because that is how I can verify that, you completely bypassed the breed up program, which is awesome.
Right.
You have purebred offspring. And let's be honest, we're importing these embryos from not
Goodness
the
knows where.
US, right?
Right.
They're I would be flabbergasted if they did not adhere to the breed standard, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So they should. And you're going to need to submit the photos and stuff still, but send that paperwork with you. And just like with artificial insemination, send the paperwork with registering the sheep to say, like, this is the straw that I used. Here's the veterinarian or, the technician who do the procedure. Like, there's an example letter attached with the breed up program that you could copy and just adapt to your needing. And then whoever does the procedure, they just sign off on it. You would send a photocopy of that too, along with your photos. There's no extra fees involved to get involved with the breed up program. So you're just paying enough fees as it is. Yes. And that's the biggest reason why. There's going to be coding that changes throughout the breed up program. It's going to be in your sheep's name. So traditionally or historically, what we have done for sheep that are being registered with us that are purebred already, I'm going to use Finn sheep because those are the most common. So they're already registered with the Finn Sheep Breeders Association. They have a registration number with them. And people that are registering them with NADSA, because they're using them for milking purposes, they send a photocopy of that Finn Sheep Breeders Association certificate. And I input all the generations behind it. And as I do that breed association's registration number, I tag it at the very end of that sheep's name. So that's another way that you can verify that sheep is indeed a purebred. So we're not taking people's word for anything.
Right.
I know for some people that's really frustrating. You feel like you're going backwards, but this is what we need to do to move forward for anyone who really wants to say, this, I actually have this percentage, and it has been reviewed by multiple people.
Right.
And like, it's legit, like the certificate says it. So there will be different coding for the breed up program at the end of your sheep's name.
Right.
And if you want the new certificate printed off for that, we can, if they've already been registered. But like the ewes that I have personally, I don't ever foresee them leaving my farm. So I'm just going to keep their certificate the same in my hot little hands. But in the computer, they're going to have the code at the end of their name that would signify they have been, labeled and stamped as 50%. And eventually, once they, those generations get to 100%, it'll be reflected also on the certificate. It'll say East Frisian 100% or Zwarbles 100%.
Want to know more about dairy sheep? Did you know that I write books on the topic? There is my big book, which is published by Sawdust Publishing and is available on my website or Amazon and sawdustpublishing.com. In this volume, The Guide to Homestead Dairy Sheep, you will find everything I wished I knew when I first started raising dairy sheep. I feature other dairy shepherds and go into detail on topics like different breeds for milking, parasite management, milk sharing with lambs, how to set your flock up for the best lambing and therefore milking season possible, and I briefly discuss digestion and nutrition of sheep. Since writing this book, folks have asked me questions about more nuanced topics, so I have begun writing ebooks that are topic specific that you can purchase on my website and receive as an instant download and print at your convenience. Currently, we have Bringing Your New Sheep Home, which explains in detail our step-by-step method of introducing new dairy sheep onto your homestead and getting them used to you as their shepherd. Since there are currently no dairy-specific hair breed sheep available, dairy shepherds will have to shear their sheep annually and then decide what to do with their wool. Wool has a lot of misconceptions surrounding it, and I want to help shepherds understand that it is a commodity and not a burden. So I wrote my other ebook, 5 Uses of Wool on the Homestead, which is designed to give you practical ideas on how to utilize this amazing product around your homestead the second you shear it off your sheep. The ebooks are only available on my website at whoopsiedaisyfarm.com.
Right. To like to the folks who go, I know that I have, let's say, 86.5% East Frisians. Like I can tell you exactly who they came from.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, and I don't have a dog in this fight personally because, like I said, right now my heart is with my milk mutts because they can handle our abuse and neglect with Kyle's schedule without batting an eye. So I am out of this
Right.
conversation
Yeah, they work
with the
really
Brilliant
well for you
program.
guys.
Right. So it's keeping it real. But for the people who are like, I know for a fact, I can tell you which farm imported it, blah blah blah. We have to have a across the board indifferent policy for all of these sheep because we are trying to make a breed that is reproducible without any variables. So even if like I've got a sheep, Lily, I'll use her for example. I know the farm I got her from. She can tell me the farm she got her sire from. There's a lot of word of mouth. And Lily's got a nice rat tail and a brown face, and she's got like the shaping of an East Frisian, but she's too small and she's brown colored. So I also know she has Tunis in her background too. So I can verbally tell you what I was told, what so and so was told, and what so and so was told. And am I criticizing any of the farmers that came before me with telling me what they were or who they were? No, I'm not criticizing. I'm not saying they're liars. I'm not saying they're in any way, shape, or form intentionally deceiving us. But like you and I said when it came to the whole NADSA thing, Kyle doesn't even really know what parent is what parent and what sibling is half siblings in our flock.
Right.
And I mean, I've got 4 generations of sheep on my farm. Like, I have to write things down because there was one sheep where Kyle and I were like, that's Luve's lamb. And then we thought about it for a second. We're like, oh, shoot, no, that was Hansel. Because all of our boys sound like they came out of a romance novel. But like, we're like, oh, snap, we almost got that mixed up. Point of that being, 1 or 2 more generations, we're going to get it wrong. And it's not that we're trying to be deceptive or anything like that. And I am cards on the table, a horrible record keeper. Like Kyle does our budget because I'm terrible about writing stuff down. Just cards on the table. Point of that being, we have the best of intentions. We're not trying to deceive anyone. We're not trying to hide what genes we're using. It's just life happens. Timing happens. You don't sleep. You forget stuff. You get older and you forget which you and Ram made that particular baby. All of that being said, if we're trying to establish a breed that has reproducible traits every single time, which is what a breed is for all the brand spanking new young homesteaders or farmers or people who want a particular breed for a particular purpose, it's unfair to those people to say, well, I have an emotional attachment to my percentage of my sheep. And I've got a lot of identity and pride wrapped up in this. So I'm not going to let you all have a fair shot at the playing field of an actual breed because I can't just cowgirl up and say, I don't have the records to prove that my offspring will make reproducible offspring. So to eliminate that variable in the genetic math that is weird enough to begin with, we're just saying you can look like an East Frisian, you can sound like an East Frisian, you can make milk like an East Frisian. Everybody, no matter how much they love the flock, no matter how much they know for an absolute fact it was higher percentage than that, you get 50% because that, after doing the math, we've decided as a board is a fair starting ground just so we can make sure we have the breed records, the Yeah, we're trying to establish pedigrees, what I'm trying to say. We're trying to establish a pedigree of traceable, like, we know who these parents are, we know what their traits were, we have photos in our
Yes.
database. So we have, an actual database of here's how we develop the East Frisian
Yes.
breed in the United States. And if you don't like how we're doing this, I double dog dare you, go and start your own East Frisian Breed Association. I dare you.
Yeah.
Show us
Yes.
how it's done.
Please do.
Please do.
Please do. Good luck
Yeah.
with the IRS, because
Right.
that'll take forever to get your nonprofit status. Believe me, I know.
Yeah, I'm almost 40. I'm at that point when people
But
criticize
yeah.
stuff. I'm like, you know what? Brenda, go you do it and show me how to do it better. Go ahead,
Mhm.
Brenda. Just go do it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna bicker with you.
Yes.
So
Yes. And it's not, honestly, guys, it's not worth bickering about. Like, we all agree we're very passionate about dairy sheep. We're all very passionate about our flock specifically. We all think ours is the best for one reason or the other. That's
right,
fine. Okay?
right,
Let's just
right,
we're getting that off the table.
right, right, right,
To move
right,
forward with
right,
breeding up for whatever specific breed, like, there are rules,
right,
and everybody has to adhere to the rules. I don't get to make my own rules because I'm the
right,
president. I'm like, oh, like,
right,
I'm going to register my sheep anyways. Like,
right.
that's not how
Yeah,
it works.
right.
And it's the same playing field for everyone.
I thought my Lily would be a perfect candidate for the breed up program until this episode right here when you're like, Brown doesn't count. I'm like, well, Lily's not eligible for the breed up program. Now, like, if I wanted to LAI her and the offspring came out, that offspring would definitely be eligible should she not be brown, and should she still
Yes.
have the rat tail, and should she still have the nose and all the things and be tall enough. But
Mhm.
and Lily's a great
Yeah.
little sheep. Like, I have high hopes for her in the future of my flock. She's a great mama. She's just not an East Frisian, and that's fine.
Right. Well, and who knows? She might be adding some great genetic traits to her offspring if you ever choose to breed to a purebred East Frisian that will then influence, maybe she's got great parasite resistance or something, and
Right,
so
she does.
her line, her offspring, down the road, like,
Yeah,
is great for
yeah,
parasite resistance, like,
right,
but
right.
but yes, that's there. I mean, and I would say we're not allowing, like, docked tails either. And I know there's a lot of folks out there that have docked tails, just like with dairy cattle, because, well, I don't want to get swatted in the face. Well, I hate to say it, those ones they're not gonna get 50%.
We just can't verify if you've docked the tail that it's a rat tail. And it's like, no,
Right.
I'm just saying, show me the evidence so that I can put it in the database, because our
Mhm.
standard is it databaseable? If it's not databaseable, and no, your
Correct.
handwritten notes aren't databaseable, we can't put it in the database. And that is what NADSA is about, establishing a database and actual information so
Mhm.
people can reproduce results on their
Yes.
farms. And
Yes.
it's
And
not
believe you
personal.
and I, it's not personal. It's not personal at all. It's
Hmm.
very traceable because there's a
Yeah.
lot of paperwork involved, whether you're importing semen or embryos. There's a lot of paperwork involved. There is a huge paper trail.
Hmm.
So it's very easy to say, here you go. This is what I got. And we need that to say, yep, okay.
Yeah.
This is verified. We're not just taking Joe Schmo's word for it. There's legitimate paperwork and a paper trail that's not
Right.
just handwritten. There's
Right.
import permits.
Right.
Veterinarians have signed off on,
Right.
implanting
Right.
the embryos or doing the LAI. Or there are some technicians out there that do LAI, if they've
Mhm.
signed off. Like, there's people that are willing to sign off that work within the industry at a
Mhm.
professional level.
Mhm.
That is a way to verify it. So yes, we're not trying to hurt anyone's feelings by any means.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
if you have been doing this on your own for
Mhm.
several years, and you have multiple generations of this, and you have the paperwork, like, saying, like, well,
Yeah.
I started
Yeah.
from here. This
Yeah.
is the straws that I imported, or the ram that
Yeah.
I purchased, and then I have done
Mhm.
this all on my own.
Mhm.
Like, that is acceptable, okay. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to have the paperwork from,
Right.
like, the origination story. We
Right.
can't just take your word for it.
Right.
And that's
Right.
again, that's why NADSA was born, was because all this paperwork is just disappearing into the abyss. And
Right.
I
Right.
guess it can disappear into the abyss to a point afterwards, but at least it's been recorded in NADSA. So if somebody's like, hey, do you by chance have a copy of this still? Yes, we have it.
Right.
Because believe you and I don't get rid of any of
Right.
that stuff. It's all
Right.
filed away in a lovely filing system.
Right, right. But again, I think that's, that is a really important thing for us, I guess, to keep reiterating to people, because I cannot begin to tell you the amount of debating we've had with people wanting to register their sheep. And, we're trying to explain to them this Liv's not sitting there judging my sheep Lily that she's not a good enough sheep to put into the breed up program.
Mm-mm.
That's not the point. The point is, I know if I sold Lily's offspring to someone, there is no way for me to guarantee, if I sold Lily's lamb to Liv, that 2 or 3 generations down the road, those offspring are still going to look East Frisian. What we're
Right.
trying to do is establish that if you breed sheep A and sheep B together, sheep C will look like A and B, sheep Z will look like A and B, and you know that for a fact. That's what a breed
Yes.
is. And when you have non-verifiable genetics, like with Lily, where I think I know
Mhm.
what she is, but I can't prove it.
Yeah.
Who's to say she doesn't spit out a beautiful badger face lamb that looks exactly like a Finn? And there's nothing wrong with that sheep, but it doesn't look like an
Right.
East Frisian. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's
yeah, and
okay.
right, and again,
We'll
mutts are
still
okay.
register that sheep,
Right, 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 and you can still milk it, and you can
just
still
not
love
in the
it.
breed up program.
You can
Exactly.
love that sheep, you can spin its
Exactly.
wool, you can wear socks you knit from it, you can make
Yes.
cheese from that milk. It can still be registered with NADSA. It's still a dairy sheep. It's just not an East
Yes.
Frisian dairy sheep. And I think
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't know why there's so much emotional attachment to breeds per se. But again, I'm all about the mutts and the
Yeah.
cross. Like, all my dogs are mutts. I don't have any pedigrees on my farm, so there's a time and place for show animals and
Yes,
pedigrees
there is
and
a
that
time
kind of,
and
and really specific breeds. There's absolutely a time and place for that. But if you're establishing a new
Mhm.
breed in a new country, we just need to have some ground rules. And
Yes.
my personal preference would be, please, please, please don't be offended if we just enforce the rules for your beloved sheep. Like, we want to work with you, but we
Mhm.
have to have
Right.
rules. And you're
Yeah.
not the exception to the rule, because it's not fair to people down the road because you want your sheep to count and
Right.
qualify, and it just doesn't qualify. So there's my
Mhm.
soapbox.
Yes. Yes. And if it's something that you want to talk about more than just an email, send an email. I'll give you my cell phone number and we can have a conversation too. So, because I know sometimes you can't hear someone's tone through an email, right? And I understand that maybe someone thinks that I am the one that is exclusively making all these decisions.
Right. You're
And
not.
quick conversation, you can quickly discover I'm not. And honestly, I don't have an active voice unless there's a tie anyways. Like, that's the whole reason why there's 7 people on the board. 6 of them are voting members. I only vote in the event of a tie.
Yeah.
Or if one of our members sheep is being nominated for the breed up program, I'll sub in for them because it's not fair for them to have an opinion or a vote on their own sheep either.
Right.
So
Right. So what you're saying is, you don't make
we're
the
really
decision at all.
unbiased.
Yeah, you don't make the
No.
decision
Nope.
personally at all about who qualifies
Nope.
for the breed up program. I have a say
Nope.
in it. The other board members have a say in it. The
Mhm.
only time you actually
Yes.
step in and make a decision is, like, say I wanted to submit Lily for the breed up program.
Mhm.
I can't vote on my sheep, so you would step in at that point. So, like I said,
Correct.
quit being mad at
Correct.
Liv if she says no. She'd be mad at me.
Right. Well, and it's sometimes I get the brunt of it, which is fine because I'm then the messenger. I then deliver
Right.
the message of
Right.
saying,
Right.
"Hey, the
Yeah.
board got together, reviewed
Yeah.
your sheep, and
Yeah.
this is the determination."
Yeah.
So, it's the whole thing, like, don't shoot the messenger. I'm the messenger.
Yeah. Seriously, don't shoot the message.
But I'm all for
Yeah.
healthy conversations.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with people about it because it's not decided by me. It's decided by a large group of people
Right.
who have ultimately decided this is the best practice that we're going to
Yeah.
do moving forward. And we
Right.
have not reinvented the wheel with this process either. Like, this has been a
Right. This is
long-standing process.
right. I mean, and we're like, yeah, like you just said, we didn't come up with this method of a breeding up program. This is across the board for any livestock that
Mhm.
is entering into, pigs, cows, chickens, sheep, goats,
Mhm.
partridges in a pear tree. Like, this is how you do this.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
again, I cannot stress enough. It's not personal. It's nothing against your sheep. You know what it is, Liv? It's your darn Michigander directness. You got to sprinkle some more fiddly dees in your email.
I need to get more tech savvy and figure out how to use like Chat GBT or something
or,
like
or
that. Fluff it
emojis, or
up.
yeah, put it
See,
in your
I don't like emojis because for me, usually emojis come across like you really are being snooty, but you're putting that emoji in there to be like, I'm not. Like, so I'm
yeah.
usually not an emoji person unless I'm texting, and usually it's the like crying, laughing face emoji, which is because I do find that really funny.
Right. But see, I just don't know. I'm like, I am a snob, and here's an emoji to make you feel better about it.
I used to have a coworker that was like that, and I was like, stop doing that. We all know what you're doing. Just stop it.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, hopefully this episode helps, the people
Hoping
wanting.
so.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping so, because I just feel like we have had some confusion and some bewilderment with some people when it
Mhm.
comes to the breeding up program, and we're not trying to sow discord amongst the masses at all. We're just
Nope.
trying to just establish a flock using the established routes that have established other breeds in our relatively new country, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So, hopefully this helps.
Right. Yeah, if not, and you still have questions, by all means, reach out. Usually check the email at least once a day unless something happens. But usually I'm pretty good at responding fairly quickly. Um, it's something that I'm more than happy to talk about and hopefully get it to the point where like you can further understand, if for some reason this conversation today you still have unanswered questions, reach
Yeah.
out so we can
Yeah.
talk and hopefully we can
Right.
get you on the same page as everyone else
Right.
to understand why
Right.
things are the way they are.
Right. And two, I would encourage people, like, do your own homework first and foremost. If you want to help establish a breed, find out what those breed requirements are.
Yes.
If you are submitting a Shetland coloring sheep for the breed up program with the badger face and the different
Mhm.
colors and the beautiful, flowing of different wool colors and types. I'm happy to spin that fleece, but that's not going to make this cut for the breed standard because that's not what East Friesians do.
Right.
Shetlands and Finns do, East Friesians do not. So just do some homework, like figure
Yeah.
out ahead of time what breed are you trying to help establish? What is the breed standard? And then please just objectively look, does your sheep match those breed standards? And if
Mhm.
the answer is no, we are 110% going to say no as well because
Right.
we all have
Because we're
copies of the
referring
breed.
to that breed standard.
Right.
And just a little tidbit, you can start off looking for the breed standard on the North America Dairy Sheep Association website.
Right.
There's
Right. We're
several
not
of
keeping it a
them on
secret.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
they're on there. And again,
Yeah.
that was something that, well, most of them have been pulled from purebred associations of that breed over in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah. Where the breed was established.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so we're not flipping the script. So go there. And if for some reason, I will be honest, I don't think we have a breed standard for British milking sheep. I'd have to double check, but I'm
Okay.
thinking that we don't. If you go out and you find it and bring it to us and say, this is what I want, we will update the website, number one. Like, we have to discuss it as a board. It's not just Liv Fox saying, okay, yep. But yes, most of the breeds that are dairy specific and that are eligible for this are indeed already listed on our website. There's a lot of information on our website. I strongly encourage people to go to our website. There's a short rule list of how to go about picking your sheep names and your farm prefix because there's certain character limits. Like, there's so many things on there that it spells it out that will save you some frustration and heartache down the road.
Yeah.
If you feel like, why are they not working with me? Well, there's a lot of the stuff that's already been laid out. So use it as a resource. And like I said, if you still don't understand it, shoot the NADSA Gmail account and email, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well,
Yes.
Well,
yes.
and it just real quick, please, if you have your listeners or if you're watching on YouTube, like we said, if you have questions, shoot us an email at the NADSA Gmail account, the Whoops Daisy Farm Gmail account. If you have more questions, like I've said before, I mean, I can check the comments on YouTube very easily. If you leave comments on iTunes and Spotify, that's a little trickier for me to just pull up and access.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to be honest, I've never checked comments.
Okay. Yeah.
those.
So if you want to make sure we see your comment, question, message, email us if you're on the podcast platforms. Don't leave you can leave the comments leave comments because that tells the algorithms we're a good podcast worth listening to.
Yeah.
Just know that we're not necessarily going to see it. The robots will though. So,
Yes.
so all right. I'll catch you later, Liv. Thank you for going through all of that. And I'm kind of proud we didn't go through too many bunny trails this time.
Yeah, no, I think we did great.
Yeah. All right,
I'll see you later.
Okay, bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Woolly Way podcast.
We hope you enjoyed our episode and have gleaned at least one tip you can implement in your flock right away. If you like what you heard, please hit the subscribe button, and if you wouldn't mind, leave us a review. This helps others find our podcast so that they can enjoy learning about dairy sheep along with you. The Woolly Way podcast is a production of Whoopsie Daisy Farm in Crafty Fox Acres. For updates and information about our show, follow us on Facebook or Instagram.
Subscribe to our YouTube and email list and look us up at whoopsiedaisyfarm.com to find both. Have a particular guest you'd like us to host or a topic you'd like us to cover? Fill out our contact form on our website or shoot us an email at whoopsiedaisyfarm@gmail.com.
See you next time.